One of the first challenge that was really unique with this film and was fun was the fact that she appears in the movie in three different versions of her. We first meet her as a little girl,
Oh.
so I had to animate her as a little girl, and then time elapses and now she's an adult, young adult, so we have the adult Tiana. And then of course we have Frog Tiana. So
Right.
I oversaw all three incarnations of her in that sense. So that was really fun because literally from day to day, I didn't know if one day I'd be sitting down doing a Frog Tiana or a little girl Tiana or adult Tiana, but it all had to be the same character,
Right.
which was part of the challenge in that. The sequence where she becomes a frog was a lot of fun, and just her initial
Hard.
reaction.
It's gotta be hard
Yeah.
to do that.
And,
How long did you take? Were there certain things where you thought, this is working? Ugh, this isn't working. This is working.
I don't remember that it took too long. The way
Really?
the way it was boarded out was kind of fun. We tried to hide it as long as we could from the audience until we actually had the chance to see her. And then when you flash over, and it's in the trailer, she sees herself in the mirror
Right.
and just goes, ah!
Yeah.
Freaks out. And then beyond that, and then she's reacting and she's dealing with Naveen as a frog, and just like, what did you do to me? And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm slimy and all this kind of stuff. And then, just seeing that relationship grow throughout the film was really fun.
How did you keep the integrity of the character and visually when you switched from her being human to being frog?
Primarily through her eyes, in one respect, so that her eyes, her eye color didn't change. So she's got these really pretty brown eyes in the film, and so when she became a frog, even though she's mostly green, she still has
As you do.
Yeah, as frogs are. She's got these very lovely brown eyes that carry over.
And lashes.
And lashes,
Okay.
exactly. But it's just again, it's she's still Tiana inside, the way she acts, and even though she's in this frog body, she's still the Tiana that we met earlier in the film.
Does she have like little frog shrugs and stuff
Mhm.
that are like the same? So, did you do it in sequence where you had her as a human first so that you knew what her characteristics as a human were? Or were there sometimes when it flipped backwards?
It kind of flipped backwards, back and forth all the time. So I think we started with some human sequences. Sequence 9, which is kind of the princess sequence where she meets the frog, shows up, and she's, oh my gosh, there's this talking frog in front of me, and that was the very first sequence that we focused on. And from there we jumped in, so we started with human, then we jumped into some frog sequences, and then back and forth, and then I said, and then you'd go from adult to, now I gotta do all the little girl sections where she's growing up, and all those kind of things. So it was kind of back and forth. But I did end on human Tiana, and in fact, literally the last scene I animated was the last scene of the movie, which was
Oh, that's nice when that happens.
kind of the happily ever after.
It doesn't happen that much that it's animated last, does it?
Not too often, but I've had that happen. I did that in Aladdin too. I did the very last scene of Aladdin. They come together for the kiss, and then they fly off into the moonlight on their flying carpet. That was the last scene that I did on the film. It was the last scene of the movie.
Is it specific to the directors of this movie or also the directors of Little Mermaid? How many times have you worked with, you're mentioning John that you went to school with him, right? Or who did you go to school?
Well, I went to school. I was in school with John Lasseter.
Oh, John Lasseter.
And John
okay.
Musker was started in the same class. They were in the same class. So
Oh, okay.
my first year at Cal
Gee
Arts
whiz. It's
was
like power all in one class.
well, yeah. When you look at that, you kind of go, wow. Because then you had Brad Bird was in that class.
Oh my
as
God.
well. And then I had Tim Burton was the class ahead of me.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I was in school for at least a year. John was
They
a
shook
senior.
some power over the top of the class.
Well, it's like they said the West Point, the class that all the stars fell on, where they had more five-star
Exactly.
generals come out of
Totally.
a couple of classes.
Like you just listed all my favorite people
So.
in animation. So anyway, you were all there.
But anyway, so I was just saying, yeah.
All
so
just sparkling.
we were there, and then, but I've worked with Ron and John now. The first thing we worked on was Great Mouse Detective.
Oh, okay. But they weren't the directors of that movie, were they?
Yes, they ended up being the primary directors because we
Okay.
had, as you well know, we have multiple directors
Right.
on our films, and at that time we were still kind of over the old system where you had kind of maybe a overall director of the film, and then you had sequence directors.
Right.
So at that point, they were more or less, say, sequence directors, and Bernie Mattinson was kind of overseeing that. And he eventually kind of became the producer, and Ron and John were, the primary directors.
Is that it's not done that way that much anymore?
Not as much. It's now basically you have, a producer of a film, and then you have a director or directing team, depending on how that works out. Ron and John have just been together ever since.
And do amazing work.
Right.
So
I've worked with them 3 times. Let's see, this is my 3rd time with them. Yeah, Great Mouse Detective, Little Mermaid, and then Aladdin.
Oh, okay.
So this is actually my 4th.
Right,
film.
okay. What is it to work with them more often? What does that offer you as an animator that you might not get another way? Obviously, you enjoy working with them.
Right. Well, there's familiarity in that we know each other. And
Not breeding contempt, apparently. You guys
Right.
are friends,
Right.
and you get along, and it's
Right.
fun
Well,
to work
we're like
together.
it's just like sometimes in these meetings, it's like going to a family reunion or something. I mean,
Oh.
you get all kinds of
That's
great
so
stuff
nice.
going on. Yeah. And but people it gets pretty heated because people are passionate about what
And
they
there's
want to fight
pressure.
for.
Right. Oh, okay, yeah.
You know,
So a sequence.
but
or
there's a
something.
respect there. I mean, and I think that's the key to it.
It allows that they'll actually go home and think about something you
Oh, yeah.
suggest, and you'll do the same because of the
They're-
work you've done together, and you trust each other because
Exactly.
you came up with something that they weren't sure about, but then wound up working, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an example of something that you put into, say, for example, The Little Mermaid, an idea that you had that wound up in the finished movie?
I mean, a lot of things were just, as I would get scenes, would just work out ideas. The first thing that kind of came to mind was the beach sequence after she's gotten her legs now from Ursula and she's washed ashore, and I got to,
Freaky outfit.
work out
yeah.
the funny dress that
With the rope and the tarp or whatever that is.
Right.
Sails.
So that got worked out, and that stayed in the movie all right, and that. But
They didn't know what they were going to put her in?
no, I mean that was kind of left a little vague. I mean it was kind of this flotsam and jetsam of stuff around there that they had to piece together. So I kind of worked on that. I can't. The thing that does come to mind though was actually on Aladdin. We had a case where during the song, A Whole New World, as
Right.
they're flying through, the 7 wonders of the world, they go by the Sphinx, and I think I just in some of the conversations, and we got talking, and I think I suggested, wouldn't it be funny? It's like their kids kind of going by on a cruise night, and they're cruising along, and they distract this guy, and he's banging on the nose,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that causes the nose to fall
You
off.
did that?
So,
The nose falling off?
well, I did them as they fly
Right.
by. Another animator actually did
Was
the
it?
little guy
Okay.
chiseling.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of them, going by and creating this distraction, and then he's like, hi, and then oh my gosh, something happened as a result, and they're like, oops, let's go, keep going. That was an idea that I had that they liked, and we put in there. So just little things like that. But they're very collaborative, and it's like I said, you people are very passionate in some of these meetings about what they feel strongly about. But in the end, we all, they trust us and we trust them to. If they say no, it's they've got good reasons, and you trust
Trust them, because they know what they're doing, obviously,
Exactly.
because they're great.
Right, and but there's a real nice I think mutual respect, which you do anything, you go to the ends of the earth to